social care first. 03444991000. We will speak soon, but first let me bring in Professor Gordon Dougan. He is an expert on vaccines and the epidemiology of infectious diseases at the University of Cambridge. He has also served on several World Health Organization committees. Professor Dougan, great to have you today. You are the man that we need. From everything that you've heard today out of Pfizer, do you feel like this vaccine is safe? Do you feel like the public can have confidence to be injected in it potentially as soon as the end of the year?
Well, the first thing is we've received good news that there's evidence that the vaccine might work. So that's an incredible positive. And also that the early evidence, I stress the early evidence, it protects at a level of 90%, which means it's the sort of the highest level you can get for a vaccine. In terms of safety, remember we pushed this vaccine through at an unprecedented rate. So we need to consider safety very carefully, and we need to continue to build up a safety dossier as we go along.
Because speaking to people anecdotally, so many minds go back to what happened in the 50s with the polio vaccine. Have we come further scientifically so that there wouldn't be a repeat of that disastrous experience?
I think we got much better at regulating how we manufacture and deliver vaccines and also medicines generally. So I think that we've learned an awful lot since the 1950s, but we still have to be vigilant. We still have to consider safety as the utmost priority for a vaccine because it's given to healthy people. And so we will continue to collect data all the way through the process, even after the vaccine is licensed. So the vaccine will now be considered by regulators in terms of safety and its ability to protect. The government and they will make a decision whether to make it available, and the public will have to decide whether or not they want to take the vaccine.
And what's your understanding of how this trial has worked? Because it's 43,000 people in 6 different countries, and presumably some of those people have the vaccine, others have placebos. What's the working practices behind this?
Well, that's the general working practice. And because if you remember, we've been through waves of COVID, and so what the vaccine testers have been trying to do is keep up with the movement of the disease. And ironically, as we've got an increase in disease incidence, it's given us a better chance of getting handle on protection of the vaccine. So, we're at this stage now where we've got the first inclinations it's going to work. Now we will turn our attention to, if you like, I heard you mention the manufacturing, the distribution of the vaccine and the challenges of the number of doses. But we will still have to keep safety in view, and we will continue to do so.
Do you think it is possible for this to be rolled out quickly? Because, I mean, one expert today is saying that life could be back to normal by the spring. That's Sir John Bell. Telling the BBC that in fact, if this works and if most of the population have it, in fact, we could just go back to normal life.
Well, there's a psychological side to this as well, isn't there? Because we're all fearful of the virus. You can imagine getting onto an airplane and you're worried, or a train, you're worried about people potentially infecting you. If you're confident that first of all, you're protected, and secondly, that you're not going to transmit the disease onto others, that's a psychological barrier broken already. So what we can expect to happen now is that not only will there be details on this Pfizer vaccine, but I expect in the next week or so, even the next few days, information on another vaccine and then on another vaccine. And so we'll have a number of different candidates, and then we'll need to think about how to get access to them in the UK. And other countries will be thinking about how to access the different vaccine types. And we can discuss, if you like, how that might roll out.
Because there's, of course, the Oxford University one, which we presumably have more access to. Is that right?
Yes. So you can imagine that you've got to have a manufacturing plant for the vaccine.
And why would the Pfizer vaccine...
manufacturing capacity in the UK. Factories are actually made abroad. They're not actually made in the UK.
Sorry, we just lost you there, Professor Dougan. Look, just a final question. Why with the Pfizer vaccine do you have to have 2 injections? Is that normal?
I think for some vaccines, I think remember the children's vaccines, babies' vaccines, they actually have one, two, or three doses. And so it's quite normal to have more than one dose. And what you do with the first dose is what we call a priming event, first exposure. And what the second dose does is actually boost and amplifies the protection in the individual and makes it longer lasting.
And any idea how long you might have immunity after having this vaccine? Is it like a flu jab where potentially you would have to get a COVID vaccine every single year of your life?
So that unlike the flu virus, the SARS-2 COVID virus doesn't vary quite as much. It does vary a little bit. So it's not because of variation in the virus, but if you've got a vaccine that is 90% protective, the chances of having longer lasting immunity are higher. So we can be optimistic, but we have to be cautious that we can get longer lasting immunity, and you wouldn't require a vaccine every year.
Well, thank you so much for being here, putting it in simple terms for us. This is one of the world's vaccine experts, Professor Gordon Dougan, an expert on vaccines, genomics and epidemiology of infectious diseases at the University of Cambridge. He has served on several World Health Organization committees. So you've heard from the experts now. Has that changed your view?